There we go.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. We were just discussing whether we've never hit the record button, so I've hit it. Recording is in progress. Today we've got Ciaran Parkinson joining us. He's a Hyrox UK ambassador. He's a coach at Fit for Rocks. He's been round the Hyrox for a while. We've been following Ciaran like right back when we first got involved in Hyrox. He's a sub 60 athlete and a dad, and he wants to show busy parents that they can do extraordinary things. We've just heard a bit about his parenting style, using grandparents to help. And he also did 24 hours of a Hyrox challenge, half Hyrox challenge to raise money for Macmillan. So we'll have to get into that and much more. So thank you for joining us on the podcast, Ciaran.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, looking forward to having a good chat over the next period of time.
Oh, thank you. And we really appreciate you giving up your time. Before we get into juggling the life, being a dad, small children, training, I just wanted to ask for our listeners if you could give us a little background of your kind of fitness journey and how you got into Hyrox and where you came from before that, if it was like a running background, just a bit more info.
Yeah, for sure. I was never like good at not I wasn't ever bad at sports. I was just kind of that middle of the range kind of person. I've got two older brothers, so I always played football with them and was on the football team at university and all that kind of stuff. So just really like my only real background in sport is playing football, but I'll be honest, I wasn't great. But I was always like one of the fitter people on the team. So that's why I was always kind of in the teams because I always seemed to have this weird like fitness ability. I then probably fell down the rabbit hole of most people when they went to university, where exercise went down by the wayside, ate nothing but pasta bake, and
There's nothing wrong with that.
played football from time to time. So probably wasn't in the best shape of my life then. But came out of university. I met my wife at university, and we went traveling. And then after I came back, was like, right, okay, now I need to find an actual career. I did sports management at university, so I knew I wanted to do something within sport. I tried a few different jobs. It didn't really kind of settle. And then my brother runs a gym down in Crawley called SPPT. And he asked me to come and help him out doing that. And we were going to start this small group personal training, like business within it, and turn the company into a different direction. And I kind of did that for like 5 or 6 years. And that really, although I was into training, I'd done like a few bits and bobs before. That was maybe at like 21, kind of what kind of really sparked my enthusiasm for exercise. And I was like, yeah, this is a bit of me. Throughout my time working there as a personal trainer, it was very much the metcons, the classes that I really enjoyed more. Like I enjoy strength training, but that was very much more the kind of side of training that I enjoyed. And I remember I would be doing like sessions if it was like, I don't know, like a Friday, and you're like, I'm going to do a session before I go out tonight. My session would be bench press into like assault bike and running, and everyone would be like, what on earth are you doing here? And I was like, I'm just doing the bits I enjoy. But that to me was like hybrid training at that point because I was mixing strength with like conditioning. Fast forward a few more years, and we kind of had I ran a marathon, like without really training too hard for it, and I did that in like a 3:20 or something like that, I think it was. So that was quite good without doing too much like specific training. And then I think my running really like became a thing for me in lockdown. I think everyone was doing like obviously gyms were closed and I was having to do personal training online, but you could go out running and stuff. So that's when it really, really picked up for me. I think everyone did that. Do you remember that like 5, 5, and 5? It was like run 5 kilometers, donate £5, and nominate 5 people. It was like a bit of a trend in lockdown. And I kept getting tagged in that bloody thing like constantly. So I must have done it like 10 times. And then like, because that was when like social media for me became a bit more of a thing. And I didn't really, again, this was what, so this is like 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't really know like what was good times or anything. And I remember my first one was like 24 minutes. And then I think my last one was like 19. And people were like, oh, you're actually really good at running. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I kind of developed it from there. Again, fast forward maybe another couple of years, and we moved to Cheltenham. We moved from Crawley in Sussex to Cheltenham in Gloucestershire when we had our first little girl, Monroe. And it was about 2 months after she was born. I'd probably fallen back into university habits of eating rubbish food and not wanting to train because I was just so tired all the time. So I needed something to focus my training on. And one of my old clients down at the previous gym, he messaged me going, you should try this event. It's called Hyrox. It looks like everything you're good at. Like you like doing the sleds, you like running, like see how it goes. And that's kind of where Hyrox first started for me, to be honest.
Oh, that's ace. I feel like it's funny how people get into it, and also how you said there about lockdown, not really realizing when you're maybe not like training with lots of other people or at a running club and knowing what fast times are, you're just kind of going out doing it because you enjoy it. And then all of a sudden you realize like, okay, yeah, I'm actually like getting quite fast and quite good at it.
I think my background, I've listened to so many of these different types of podcasts, and like obviously that's quite an odd, like a question that always gets asked is like, so what's your background? And I always hear like, oh, I was in the cycling British team, or oh, I was in this team of athletics, and I'm like, I was in the third team University College Birmingham football. Like, that's literally it.
Yeah.
Played for the seconds like twice.
Yeah, but like I think what I've taken from that is if you enjoy that type of training, you're more likely to do it, and then you push yourself and you get fitter just because, like you said, doing a workout with bench press, assault bike and running, like you were happy to do that, whereas you know, I mean, I for one would avoid the assault bike at all costs, but
I've always been quite good at being like, even now, like I pretty much, apart from the doubles partner I'm with, like we train together once a week at the moment, but apart from that, I train solely by myself. And I train people as well, and I think some people that always comes up is like, I don't know if I'm pushing myself hard enough, whereas I'm really good at, like, my next door neighbors are probably, because I have like a gym in my garage. Like, what is he doing there? Because I'm like, like I'm putting myself through what I would consider a Hyrox standard like style of training in my own training. So I've always been good at pushing myself like by myself to that next level. So I think that probably is something that maybe is what helps me a little bit as I progress in this sport.
I definitely think, yeah, like having the ability to suffer, like you just said, it's something that's quite hard to teach and quite hard to learn, isn't it? So maybe that's what's like, I know there's different backgrounds and people are saying, oh, they were professional in this, or they've got this like huge athletic background, but having the ability to suffer and push yourself to those levels for Hyrox is probably one of the things that a lot of people can't learn. Like you know,
it's a discipline, isn't it? I think, and you either have that ability to put your, and like again, we'll probably get onto training later on. We don't always need to be like that, but there does need to be a period in your training where you're like, okay, I'm going to push myself to the limit here. Obviously, that's few and far between. But if you can't physically do that in your training, then when it comes to race day and you've got to pick that wall ball up under a high level of fatigue, your brain is going to say no. Whereas if you're in your training, you do it, you'll be like, well, I've done this before. I know I can do it again. So you've got to take yourself into a special mental place, I think, certainly when you're training by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So then when you went to your first Hyrox event, like once you'd competed, did you just think, yeah, this is a bit of me, I want to get into this sport? Or what kind of happened? How did the snowball effect end up with you as a Hyrox ambassador now?
Do you know, it was really weird. Like I turned up, I'm not a big guy, I'm like 70 kilos, so like in the men's pro division or in the men's division, that's quite small. And I remember, I've told this story before, I remember like getting there and you have to walk across the track, don't you? And my wife was with me and we had Monroe, who was like 3 months old at the time. And there's just like guys built like fridge freezers running around, and you're like, oh my God, what have I signed up for here? Because I literally, to the point, like I didn't even know, I thought the sled pull was you just dragged it with like TRX straps rather than you pulled it with a rope. So literally until I got there, I was like, what do I do with this? So it was like not that, and I ran it in like a pair of Nike Metcons, which obviously is just mental because like that was just I remember running around and my wife Becca filmed it and she was like, oh, people keep saying you're a machine, because obviously I must have been running past people, and I just remember getting on like the 6th or 7th run and being like, Christ, my knees are hurting from running in these. Because again, like you were picking something that you could do with functional fitness, and at the time Metcons were like what you would use. And then we went like round the back of the, after I finished, like I did quite a good time. We went round the back of the like venue because my wife had to breastfeed Monroe, and I was checking the results. I was like, I think I've won. And she was like, no, you. She's like, no, you haven't. I was like, no, look. I'm like, and there was only like maybe 400 or 500 people in comparison to what it is now, like 2,000. But I was like, no, I'm definitely at the top. And she was like, you're not. And then lo and behold, I did win.
That's crazy.
And then it kind of grew from there, really. Like I, again, didn't know anything about it. So I qualified for, like, I can't remember who. It might have been, I don't think it was Fies or Gus or Gidi then. It was, can't remember who was like the person who was announcing it. And they were like, I'm qualified for Las Vegas World Championships, Ciaran Parkinson. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, but what, I don't know, what is that? And then obviously, like, my wife was really good. She's like, well, you've got to go. Like, when do you ever qualify for something like that? And I was like, yeah, but you're on maternity leave. We've got a 3-month-old baby. We haven't really got a pot to piss in at the moment. So I don't really think I can go to Las Vegas. But I managed to find someone, like a previous client. His company wanted to sponsor me to go and do it. So I ended up going. The actual Las Vegas race in itself was an absolute nightmare because another trainer issue. I wore this pair of trainers, like they were a pair of Brooks. And the very first time I pushed the pro sled, the whole of the sole just ripped off. So I literally had so I've traveled all the way to Vegas, got to the sled push, and I basically only have one shoe on for the rest of the race. And it was just, when it, like the bottom, it was just flapping like that. So I think the sled push and pull took me 19 minutes in total. Bearing in mind, I did it in Birmingham combined. I did them in 5. So like I got halfway around, I was like, I don't think I ever want to do this again.
How lucky is that? That's just like one of those things that will never happen again, but it just happened at the wrong time.
And it sucked anyway, because it was the first time I'd ever done pro weights and stuff like that. So it was tough, but it was kind of one of those things. When I got back, my goal was to finish top 100 in the World Championships, and I finished exactly 100. So I was like, what? Although I didn't get the time I wanted, I got like an hour and 20 or something. It was an experience and an amazing thing. And it then came, it was like, I think I had 2 choices. Either I'm actually going to give this a go and like get a coach and properly invest, because it's still at this point, the sport was so new. And I was doing what most people did at that point, where they were just doing Hyrox to train for Hyrox, and not actually realizing the reason why I did so well in the first one was because I had a combination of different strength sessions, conditioning sessions, different types of aerobic and anaerobic and that kind of stuff. And that actually, so the basics, the fundamentals is what you need to get good at Hyrox, not just keep doing Hyrox simulations. So yeah, getting a coach was really good. I invested in that. I spent sort of 4 or 5 months between the like World Championships and my first race back in the summer, which I did in Switzerland in my second season. And I ran my first time running a sub 60, which is like 58 minutes. And kind of from there, it just kind of progressed from there, really.
Oh, like it's really cool to hear about it back at when it was starting as well. Because I think whenever we speak to anyone that was in one of the first races, and like then with Las Vegas, like you can then just tell how much the sport's grown and how much, like you say, everyone's training's grown. Because I think everyone was in the same position. It was like, what do we do? Like, how do we train for this? Like, do we just keep doing like burpees and lunges and hope for the best? Like, but now as time's gone on, like you can tell that there is, like you say, the specific fundamentals. People think now it's more of an endurance race because it's for such a long time, as opposed to like a short, fast CrossFit thing. What kind of style of training do you like doing for yourself? Everyone's different for what benefits different.
So mine has changed. I still massively believe in the value of having a coach, even though I am a coach myself. I've had a couple of different coaches along the way, and at each different time of my Hyrox kind of life, that was kind of what I needed. So originally, I kind of had a coach that was based on kind of all-round things, and then I moved to a coach that was a little bit more like very much like Hyrox WOD based. I just found that from that, I was getting a lot of niggles, like, again, like doing things like, to get better at wall balls, yes, you have to do some wall balls, but you don't just need to do that. You need to work on your squat pattern. You need to work on your overhead strength. You still need to work on your endurance. So that kind of didn't, I wasn't making any improvements doing that. And I just found I was fatiguing myself. I've recently, over the summer, I then went on like a strength block, and spent sort of 4 months or so just trying to get a lot stronger. And that did help in terms of I actually got stronger. I went to my first Hyrox race of this season, was caught a little bit short though, because my fitness was just not where it was to be. So traditionally I do either the pro or the pro doubles. I like to start the season with like an open race, and it was like the toughest race I've ever done. I just didn't feel fit. I could do 100. I should be able to do 100 wall balls unbroken with the 6 quite comfortably. I was doing it in sets of like 20 and then 15 and 10. So I'd spent a long time I'd got stronger, but I'd lost all my fitness. And from doing that race alone, I kind of just realized that I was like, actually, although yes, you do need an element of strength, actually being an aerobic monster is the name of the game. And I think people look at, certainly in the men's pro division, people are looking at Hunter and Sandy and thinking, okay, actually, I need to look like that. But they're probably just anomalies, unfortunately. Most people that are going to do really well at this are just going to be stupidly fit. These guys that are coming over from a running background, from a triathlete background, once they nail the movement skill sets of wall balls and lunges and things like that, they're going to start putting down some crazy times. And it's only because, I mean, you guys probably, I know a lot of runners who would do amazing on the 1Ks, but then if they try to pick up a wall ball, they don't squat. So they're never going to be able, they're just not going to know the squat pattern. So that will develop, I think, over the coming months. So in the last 2 months, I've been working with Anthony Perricini and Lauren Weeks at the Hybrid Engine. I've seen them do some crazy things with James Kelly and Kate Davey. Their times have just gone crazy, and how well they've improved. I'm really good friends with Kate, so she was like, look, you've got to come on board with this. I think this will really help. And so now it's long training. It's like 3-4 hour days. It's like double threshold days, lots of running. My running volume's gone from maybe a very low 25-30K a week to more like 60 or 70K a week. Lots of squatting to work on. I describe myself as having legs like a Barbie doll. So trying to get them a little bit stronger will definitely help. And I'm already starting to see the benefits like on the movement patterns as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Oh no, amazing. Yeah, it is interesting though, like you say. I think when we watched, I can't remember which race it was, one of the majors, and Paleo from the triathlete background, I was like, you look at him like compared to like your Hunter and your Sandy, and you know, he is much lighter, much slighter, and maybe is slower on the stations, but the running is like incredible. And people run the race in different ways, so his like split, I guess, is probably different. In the running's much faster than the stations, and maybe Hunter like is more equal, I don't know. But it is interesting that you don't have to be one body type to do well.
Yeah, and muscle fatigue's quicker, right? You need more energy to have more. Having more muscle means you burn more energy. So you'll look at someone like Paleo and you'll probably see, actually, yes, he might be 8th or 9th coming off the sleds, but I think he finished 3rd or 4th at Worlds, didn't he? So he's going to come into it later on in the race. I think, like, we go back to that story I told at the beginning with the fridge freezers running around Hyrox. And I think when you don't have enough information about it, you look at it from the outside in and you're like, oh, big, heavy sleds, farmers carries, all those kind of things. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But unless you can run, which is over 50% of the race, that doesn't matter. So you like the sled, and the sled, don't get me wrong, the sleds are heavy, but I can move them. The men's pro is 3 times my body weight, but it moves because practice, technique, it's all that kind of stuff. And it's muscular endurance is just as important as muscular strength in Hyrox, because you might have someone who is 90 kilos who can move that sled a lot quicker than me, but probably by the time we've got to the first corner of the next lap, I'm going to be past him because he's going to be gassed.
Yeah, totally.
It's so interesting, isn't it? I think, and you definitely, I'd say in this last year to 18 months, we've definitely seen a switch in, even just looking at social media and coaches and everyone talking about running more and it being an endurance sport. Like you said, at the beginning, I think it looks on paper, or when you look at it, if anyone like wearing the Metcons, for example, it looked like a CrossFit style, Metcon style workout. Actually, it's like a running workout with some like exercises.
I did a session the other day, which was like 400-meter run, 5 deadlifts, and like 50-meter sandbag lunges, and it was like just 30 minutes as much of that. And I was like, I was going to wear my running shoes, and I thought, actually, no, deadlift and lunges, I'd rather a stable shoe. So I was like, I'm just going to deal with the fact I'm going to run 400 meters in. Like I'm sponsored by Puma now, so I wear Puma Fuse. And it felt horrible running in those. So I don't know how I did over 8 kilometers of running in them when I was in doing 400 meters at a time. But it is that trade-off, isn't it? Because you're like, what is best for... That's another story altogether, isn't it? What shoes to wear for Hyrox, Cry?
Yeah, we've got that question later. But I wanted to ask, so you just touched on there, your training volume and time has gone up, and obviously you're a parent, you're still working. Like, how do you fit in everything, and also how do you put the focus on recovery as well, because we all know that recovery is really important. I feel like you might not be getting as much sleep as you maybe need with a little baby, but
yeah, of course. No, it's tough. Look, as I said to you guys before we started the call, my wife is incredible with what she does. Like, I'm in awe. Like, I have to work full time, I have to train, or I choose to train 3 to 4 hours a day. But what she does by not getting much sleep, we sleep in separate beds. So she has the baby in with her because she knows how important this is to me and us as a family, like all our goals. So without her, none of this would be achievable. So I'll probably start that question with that. Outside of that, it's early starts. It's going out to the gym at 5:30 in the morning when you don't really feel up for it and getting the job done. And then I'm really meticulous with my planning. So our kitchen cupboards you can write on with whiteboard marker, and then scrub it off. So before I go to bed the night before, I write out like when I'm doing certain things. So like today I've got like lots of strategy calls booked in for people racing in Paris and Manchester this weekend. I've obviously got this podcast with you. I've got to walk the dog. I've got to train. I've just got a 60-minute easy run today. It's actually one of my lighter sessions because I've got big sessions tomorrow. So for me, the planning and preparation is key. So I'll write it all out and I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to fit that in? So that's a case of, okay, I'm probably going to have to get up earlier today, or I'm going to have to just move this call to this time, and then that's where I'm going to get the training in. But I try and plan like day by day, but I also try and plan it week by week. So like, as I said, because today I knew I had lots of calls booked in, this was what is my active recovery day. So where I'm still doing something, but I've only got to go out there once for an hour and it's light. Whereas on the other days, it's a case of sometimes I might get up earlier and do work, and then that gives me the opportunity to fuel and stuff like that. I'm very lucky because of what I do is flexible. It's extremely busy, but it is flexible, so I can do it in my own time. So it might be a case of, okay, I'm going to get up at 5, do 2 or 3 hours work, then I'm going to go and train at 9 o'clock in the morning, which a lot of people don't have the ability to do. I also have a very good purpose-built garage gym, which has a sled, a running machine, a ski, a rower, a wall ball, everything. So I'm very lucky to that extent. So it's a combination of early mornings, a lot of support from my wife, and just planning, I would say, to fit everything in.
Yeah, I think, and like that, you just said you were very lucky, and like I agree that you're lucky and some people don't have the opportunity, but also I feel like you prioritize that, and that's where you've decided to either like create a life where you can have the flexibility with your work, and also you've put your money into creating this garage gym. So it's lucky, but also at the same time, I think you've obviously decided what your priority is, and it's like anybody, if you want to get somewhere with something, you have to decide what your priority is, and you've decided your priority is to make training as accessible to you as possible, taking away the fact you might have to go to a gym, or like adding long times.
Yeah, it's true. I chose to go. I've gone all in on this, both work-wise, personal-wise. This, like Hyrox, is fundamentally my life now. So I'm going to give it everything I can to achieve as much as I can. I'm really proud of what I have. I think, again, I was going to use the word lucky, but I don't think it is luck. Like you said, it isn't luck. I've worked my absolute arse off to get to the position that I'm in, both from a career perspective and within Hyrox itself. I don't take any of it for granted. Like having like people like ask to have pictures with me, like I find absolutely bamboozling. Like to go to Sports Direct like the day before Birmingham and there's a billboard of me up, like was like insane. Like just all those kind of things. It still feels like a bit of a dream to me. So yeah, I'm really proud of what I say me, but we, because I see me and my family as a partnership, and I feel like we're all achieving within this.
Yeah, and you should be really proud, because it is incredible, and it's so nice that you do, like, you are doing it as a family and you've got the support. And I think that is a key thing to take away, that like when you have the right people and like the support behind you, it makes everything so much more achievable, because you're working as a team and your wife obviously understands and supports you, and you're doing it for each other. So it makes the goals more achievable, and it makes it more worth it, I presume.
I do. The only thing I said, I do have a rule, and I think the rule should be in Hyrox that for every child you have, you should get 1 minute head start. So if someone has 6 kids, that's fine. But if I'm sat there on the start line in the pro race with Hunter, like Sandy, he can have a minute. He's got 1. But so he gets a minute over Hunter, but I get a 2-minute head start over him. Like, I think it would just level the playing field a little bit.
The sleep deprivation.
Yeah, 100%. So like, right, you're at the back, you've got none. It's like, there's Dave, he's got 6 kids, let him go early. I think it would make it interesting.
Amy Bevilacqua would love that, wouldn't she? She's got 5. She'd have a 5-minute head start.
Right. So give her a 5-minute head start, and then obviously probably it'll start leveling itself out.
Oh, I love it. I love
People
it.
start popping kids out just to get an advantage.
I thought of this as we went on like a family holiday, and I had a Built for Athletes bag on the front, a Built for Athletes bag on the back. I had my babe Nelly in one hand. I had Monroe, who wanted to cuddle with Daddy at the same time. And then I was at a queue for like 2 hours to try and get check-in. I was like, oh God. And then I like, when we got home, I needed to train and we hadn't even flown. I was like, I need a head start here in some way.
That's like a farmer's carry with each kid.
It was crazy. Yeah.
And then what about, like, we touched on your family and what you're trying to create. What about mental strength? Does that help you? What do you think of when you're going into a race? Like, how do you keep pushing on? Like, what's your thoughts on mental versus physical for a Hyrox?
So this is really interesting, because I've literally been talking about this with some clients this morning, like, who say they like crash and burn on the wall balls. And like, I said, if I was sat there with a gun to your head, and excuse the term, and I said, you cannot put that wall ball down, you wouldn't put it down. And that, to me, that's mental, right? So again, like we talked about earlier, you need to kind of practice that mentality within your training to be able to replicate it on race day. For me, I get as nervous as everyone else when it comes to race day. I think now, because of the expectation, because of like social media and everything like that, everyone is like, if you're not doing as well as you supposedly should do because you've been showing how good your training is, then there's that expectation. So I get really, really nervous on race day. As soon as I start, I feel fine. But just that start tunnel, the 10 minutes before, the day before, I, like everyone else, get that kind of feeling in your stomach where you start to get nervous and stuff like that. For me, I just try and tell myself, there is nothing that I haven't done here. There is, I've done so many of these races now. I think that mental, how you prepare yourself mentally, because you can lose before you've even started. And I've done this before where I'm like, just in my head before, this person's racing today, so we're not going to beat that person. And my doubles partner, Tony, he's really good at like snapping me out of that mentality. Sometimes he's like, no, mate, we're here to win. We're here to do, like, do you know what I mean? And that's why I kind of like the doubles, is like you build each other up when maybe one person might be feeling down or vice versa. When it comes to like the mentality of training, it's tough. Like the actual, like, to get yourself out there, there is no, if anyone who says they're constantly motivated to train is lying.
Yeah,
I agree. It's not the case at all. I think we're going to get onto like goals for the season. Me and my daughter made like a little on cardboard thing with what my goal is for this season. and I've got it stuck on my thing where I can see it from my treadmill, and every single like time that I'm doing intervals or I'm doing threshold work, I say to myself, all right, every couple of minutes, I'm just going to look up at that sign and just remember what the goal is for the season. And just little stupid things like that sometimes motivate me. But mentally, I think is tougher than the physical sometimes.
Yeah, it is hard. I think with all the training as well, because it's not just on race day, is it? You know, when you go into a race, you've had all those which help, the training sessions help you, but it's a long period to be motivated for, like to keep going and keep going. And I mean, now Hyrox does it even have an off season? I don't know, but you know, to pick your like races to train for them, I think it's important you have like the peaks and troughs. Maybe it was good you had the strength block that wasn't quite as mentally taxing, albeit it maybe affected the fitness a little bit. Maybe it helped a bit of a change there as well in the training to then get back onto the more mental.
And the peaks and troughs, like you said, is so true. Like sometimes I'll go through weeks where I'm like, this just isn't clicking, and then you'll just have one session that will just like be like, actually that went really well, and it just sometimes you just need that to re-spark the fire. But it's understanding why things aren't clicking, and I guarantee if you go back to all the things we discussed before, am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating properly? Am I stressed with work? Like there'll be something that will be affecting you in some way. But again, like I said to one of these guys this morning, we are not full-time athletes, not paid hundreds of £1,000s by sporting brands and stuff like that. Like you've got to deal with the fact that it's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to get a PB, but the process is 99% of what you're doing. The outcome is that 1% on race day. And if the 99% of the process is going well, remember that. If you're like, for me, if I'm a better father because I've exercised and it's released endorphins, if my training is going well, if I'm feeling good, yeah, I might be disappointed if I don't get the result on the day, but if everything in my life is good because my training is good and the process is 99% of them right, then I need to remember that sometimes. And this is just 1%, and that 1% doesn't define you. That isn't just because you didn't get the best time in the world that day. That shouldn't be the definition of what you are as an athlete, as a person. And I think Birmingham was like a big one. A lot of people didn't hit PBs and stuff like that, and everyone got so disappointed. And I was like, don't let that 1% define you.
Yeah, I also think like it's hard to peak on just one day as well. Like, and maybe that's a good thing about, like Emma, you just said, like there's so many Hyrox now. Like you don't just have one race or like two races that you can do in a season. There are many races. So if that one race doesn't go great, like I'm not saying go and enter a race the next weekend, but you have
Most people do.
Yeah, loads of people do, don't they? But you have got the opportunity to reset, look at that race, start again, and go, and maybe go to a different venue as well. Like sometimes, like the venues, we know that it's not the same from venue to venue yet, and like I'm sure in time to come Hyrox will work out how to make it a bit more like similar so there's not so many differences, but like maybe a different venue, a different time, when there's maybe less stress on you. Like sometimes you can't always peak on that one day, and like you said, if you've had the consistency of training and you've got out there, you've been disciplined, you've enjoyed the training, and you keep it going and don't just let that one result like stop you.
If you look at like a footballer in a football season, they play twice a week, every week for 40 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like I guarantee probably 25 to 30% of the time they don't have the game that they wanted to have.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you transferred that over into Hyrox where you had 8 races over the course of the season, probably 3 or 4 of them are going to be bad or not go to plan. So like you said, you do have the ability to do as many as you should, but you're probably really not going to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go on to future goals, targets, things like that, do you have 3 tips for our listeners that you kind of follow in your training or on race day, or a mixture of the two, that you think are really important to Hyrox and being a Hyrox athlete?
I think tip number 1 would be prioritize your running. This should be the staple of your program. Okay, stop doing Hyrox sims every week. Stop doing like variations of Hyrox sims in your training. There should be a progressive plan, but the plan should be focused around your running. Hyrox is more than 50% of the running, and I guarantee the best Hyrox athletes, the people that are seeing the most success, are the ones that have a good running structure within whatever their plan is. Tip number two. I think tip number two is it's tough because my life revolves around social media. Is try and get yourself off social media a little bit. I think so many people are comparing themselves to what other people are doing, and like we have discussed, you do not know those circumstances. There is no point me comparing myself to a 22-year-old who doesn't who like lives with his parents, who doesn't have kids, who doesn't have the stresses of life in comparison to myself. They're probably going to have they're probably going to have the ability to put down a better time than me. So get yourself off social media and stop comparing yourself to what others are doing. And also remember, social media is the highlights reel of people's lives. There is very few people who put down the failures and the negatives in their life on social media. They just put down their successes. So maybe those two can be my my pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I mean, you touched on it earlier. Maybe now you feel as well going into races a little bit more expectation just because your face is out there a bit more, like you say, and people are probably following you and watching you and seeing how you do. But I do think it is really important to remember everyone's only human and everyone does have things going on in the background that they don't always shout about. And we can't all be perfect like on that one day, and you don't know what someone's necessarily been through in the run up to whatever. And I think it's just good everyone's getting out, giving it a go. Definitely,
it's good. Like I think the other good thing about Hyrox is like the opportunity to, you know, you can race pro or you can go open if you don't feel like you're quite there, or you want to switch and you go for lighter weights. You could also do a doubles like you said and have the support of someone, or you could go and do a relay. Like you don't all have to go out there and try and make the elite 15. Like there's so many opportunities in Hyrox to do different things. What are you, I'm interested, I mean we can jump onto future goals, but are you targeting the elite 15 doubles this year? Is that a goal?
Yeah, that's the goal for us this year. So myself and we're like in a group of quite a few people that are good and put down good times in the pro division, but we're just probably not quite as a solo have the ability to hit these crazy times that are coming out now. Like a sub hour in the pro would be like a really good time for me, but 2 years ago that would get you in, whereas now you need to run you need to run a 56. If it was done at the open weights, there's potential that I could be there, but the heavier weights just slow me down that little bit too much. So yeah, me and my doubles partner Tony, we've got a few lined up. So we're going to pair up for Dublin next weekend as a bit of a trial run.
Nice.
And then goals for the rest of the season. We're going to go to London, where we had a really good result in our first race together, and we're going to see if we can run a sub 50. But like that, we'll see, because I don't think anyone in the UK has done it. So we're going to see it. We did like a 51.36 together there last year in our first ever race.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to see if we can do that. And then we can probably announce this now. So we're actually flying over to Melbourne in Australia in the middle of December, and we're going to go for the first Elite 15 doubles qualifier. So we need to finish in the top 3 in that. That is the goal at the moment. And beyond that, we don't know, because we're going to see how that one goes.
Oh,
nice.
Fair.
Love it.
I mean, like, it's good to get a couple under your belt as well to just like
get
in that race scenario and like probably work out where you, I don't know, it's little things like even just switching on the row or on the ski and where to, like, who starts the sled. And are you both like really good runners, or is like Tony a bit stronger, or like where's your?
So we're quite different. So we're both very good, like decent runners. He is a lot stronger than me. I am much better coming in off the run into the station and doing my work then, and he is much better in what I call the hole, where he's in a world of pain. I can go off and set the pace, and he can just hold with me, knowing that the fact that once he gets through the run, he gets that rest, because I'm going to jump on the station. I think people have different skill sets, don't they?
I just run after her, like, come on. I'm like, as long as I know, as soon as we get to that station, I get a rest, I'll keep going.
And it's tough. Like, I've done a mixed doubles with Lucy Proctor before, and where like she's a great runner, and I finished on the station, and then she was gone. And that first like 300 meters, I'm like, oh, this is tough.
It's good though, because you're together. You're almost like you get that bit of like you don't want to let the other one down as well. Like,
well, you've got a target, haven't you? It's just like I just need to keep with him or her. I just need to stay with them. That's all I need to do. And as soon as we get to the point of the row, I'm going to get even if it's 10 seconds, I'm going to get some form of recovery, which does make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. I'm intrigued. What kind of kilometer split pace are you running?
Sorry, the dog's trying to eat bananas. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to throw something at him.
That's all right.
He's down. He's got a real habit of eating bananas.
Healthy dog.
Say that again.
He likes to train hard, eat bananas.
He's a little prick.
No, what I'm interested. What kind of kilometer pace are you running for your 1K splits?
The goal for the doubles is going to be 3:30s.
It's got to be fast, doesn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah, I think if we can hit 3:30, like we're not going to be the best on the stations, but like we're talking 2 or 3 seconds maybe off some people on certain ones. There'll be things like burpees and row and ski where we're pretty good, but again, the stronger, heavier stuff we might be a little bit behind. So the running will always be the thing that will be our forefront. If we can hit 3:30 or below, I don't think there's many people that are going to be able to keep up with that. So yeah, that's the goal. I did a 3:37 average as a solo in Birmingham. So I think as a doubles, we should be able to go a little bit quicker than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that's going to be impressive.
Oh, exciting.
We'll see. We've got to do it first.
Yeah, very exciting.
It's good to have a goal there. It's good to just like put it out there and give it a go.
I don't know why we picked to do Dublin, because obviously it was everyone said it was a bit slow and busy last year, didn't they? So we'll see how. I mean, traditionally when we're on in the evening, it's so much quieter anyway. Like it's nothing like what it's like in the middle of the day in terms of trying to get in and out of people. So we'll see what happens in Dublin. That will give us a good idea of kind of where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to have like a run through and see what maybe needs tweaking a little bit. But oh no, I'm buzzing for you guys. Very exciting. Well, on that note, should we go on to the cheeky insights?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
We've got 8 questions for you. First one we did touch on earlier, but what shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
So I'm sponsored by Puma, so obviously they are Puma based. So for the races, I wear the DV8s just because they've got a carbon plate on them. So that's the normal ones, not the elite ones. So just the normal Puma DV8s I'm wearing at the moment.
Nice, I like it.
At least the Metcons have gone.
Metcons have gone.
You probably lost a minute on your running just by getting rid of them.
Next one, which has been your favourite venue to race in?
Favourite venue? You know what? I did one in Doha, and that was really. The running track was like really strange, but they were like the best sleds ever, and it was like the first one that I've done where it was completely air conditioned.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was such a game changer. So I'm going to go with Doha. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a different one. We've not had that answer yet. So. Which one's your favourite Hyrox station and why?
Burpees, because I'm good at them.
I don't know how you can enjoy it.
I think because I'm like the smallest guy in the pro division. The Birmingham race was a good example. I was second to Harry, who was winning, and he's obviously 10, 15 kilos heavier, that he's going to struggle. So I sort of shot past him on those. So I normally, like in the pro division, put down like one of the better times in the burpees. So yeah, I quite like them. Or the rower. I don't mind the rower. That's all right as well.
Yeah. And then I suppose on the burpees, you get the mental win if you're passing people. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm gaining.
Yeah.
Do you do the step in or do you jump? Like what?
Oh, the step.
Yeah.
You
step, yeah.
Definitely,
Would you suggest that to everyone? Like as in...
I think in the singles,
energy.
I think in the singles, definitely. I mean, you only have to do 5 reps of both of them, like the double jump, the jump up or the step up, and I think you'll know straight away which one is easier, both cardiovascularly and for your legs. So everything I do within Hyrox is I'm thinking about, is this going to affect my next run? And if I can, there's no point saving 3 to 5 seconds on the burpees and then running 20 seconds slower. Do you know what I mean? So it's the combination of the two. So everything I'm doing is, can I still hit my 3:37 pace on the next run? And if the answer is no, then I need to change what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next one. I mean,
I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah. If you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, who would it be? You've already got your like diehard doubles partner, but is there anyone famous or I don't know, a icon or anyone that you've looked up to that you would want to do?
Let's go with just David Beckham. I don't know why, just for the sake of I can imagine there would be some good publicity,
Yeah.
but then you've got the downside of doing it with a very good-looking man. So there we go, someone.
He's a bit older now, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd still be quite sought after though.
Yeah, he's still a good-looking guy.
I'll go with Bex. I don't know why. That's just the first person came into my head.
Why not? Next one is, do you fuel for Hyrox, and if so, what do you have and when do you take it in the race?
Yeah, so again, I'm very lucky. I'm sponsored by a supplement company called X Endurance. So these guys do all my fueling for me. So I have probably 2 like electrolyte based drinks pretty much every day, sometimes more just because of how sweaty and long my training is. I take something called lactic acid buffer tablets, which are really, really good. These kind of assist with being able to train longer, with recovering between sessions better, again, with the amount of volume of training, really useful. Creatine I take every single day, again, helps with muscle recovery from training. I take omega-3, I take multivitamins, and then I will take I've only this season started playing around with energy gels. It was never something that I thought was necessary, but actually I've realized the benefits of taking that kind of 40 minutes into training is massive. So I was about to take one in Birmingham, but I dropped it very upsettingly after the burpee. So I literally ripped it off and I went like that and it slipped out of my hand. And you know, when you need, like, I was like really relying on that energy. So I can't tell you the benefits of taking it in a race yet, but I will. I can tell because I dropped it, but I will be able to tell you the benefits after Dublin, hoping I don't drop it.
Oh, God.
Tony wants to do this weird thing where we like share one and then we share another one later. It sounds a bit cringe, but I don't know if he wants to cross arms as we both have a shot of energy gel or something. But yeah, we're gonna try like having half at one point and then half at another point. I think
maybe that's good for you, because then at least if he doesn't drop it, at least you get something, you know.
I'll get him to hold both, maybe.
There was probably someone running behind you that took that energy gel and was like, dying. You probably helped someone out there.
Someone did slip on one and break their leg, so hopefully it wasn't them.
Oh dear. Okay, moving on. Next one is, what is your favorite type of training session, like a format or a long run? Or
I'm really enjoying my threshold training at the moment now. So like, this is kind of not actually putting yourself in a complete hole every session, whereas previously I was doing interval work and it was like max effort for a certain amount of time, or get to do a kilometer as quick as you can, whereas this is a little bit more measured and methodical. And I'm starting to get really comfortable running at some good paces now. So I probably like these threshold-based sessions that I'm doing. I'm really enjoying at the moment.
And I have to ask, do you do them on a like treadmill, assault runner, or outside?
I do them on an air runner. I basically think that anything under 15 degrees is cold. So, and I hate having anything in my pockets as well. And I just can't, I don't know. I've always hated running outside. I don't know why. Whereas on that thing, I just enjoy a little bit more. Like if we were on holiday, if we were abroad, love running outside. But in the UK, it's not enjoyable at all. So I literally solely run on that thing, to be honest.
So your 60 minutes today, would you do it outside or on the air runner?
No, I just go and do it on that thing.
Oh God, I think I would find that so hard.
Yeah, but then I can look at my little sign, you know, every 3 minutes and be like, come on, you can do this.
You can do this nice steady pace.
Unless I've got an aeroplane going around with one of those little signs. Can't do that running on the road, can I?
Oh dear, too good. Okay, next one. In a nutshell, why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox?
I think it's such a cool event. Like the way you as we've discussed, like the type of training is so varied and enjoyable. There's such a good mixture. Like you can do everything within your training, and like cardio stuff, running, strength. The experience on the day is like second to none, like so enjoyable. you're going to run round and halfway round like me in Las Vegas. You're probably going to go, I'm never doing this again. But that buzz of, even when I haven't done great or I haven't done a time I'm that happy with, that like adrenaline release when you get over the finish line is second to none. The community is obviously incredible. There's so much access to it now, between online coaches, between actual gyms being able to train for it. I remember 3 years ago being in my gym doing burpee broad jumps in between the treadmills and people thinking, who the hell is this idiot? Whereas now everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's a really good way of like making friends as well. Like, so yeah, I think there's so many reasons why we should sign up for one.
Yeah, definitely. Love that. And lastly, is there anyone you would like to see on our podcast or hear a bit more about? It could be a specific person or a type of person in the Hyrox world.
Get Big Tony on. Let's see what he's got to say.
Oh yeah,
Get Big
that'll be
Tony
good.
on.
Yeah. Definitely. Get his
Get the
take
other side
on
of it.
Yeah.
He's not as articulate as me though. I've seen him do a few like videos for like supplement companies. He's like Bobby Boucher.
Maybe we should get him on after Dublin to see how you guys got on.
Yeah, and he can just rip me basically saying that I was crying following him or something like that maybe.
Possibly.
And then we forgot to touch on your 24 hours of Hyrox, which I like wanted to touch on quickly, just to see like where that idea came from and how that was, because you did like a half Hyrox every hour for 24 hours. Did you?
Yeah, that was hideous. Yeah, I won't be doing that again.
Oh my God. Did that make it feel any better, like doing a Hyrox race, or did it nearly put you off the whole thing?
I think it probably genuinely affected the first 6 months of my season, because like the thought of doing, once you've done 1,200 wall balls and pushed the sled for 600 meters, and like fundamentally it was an ultra marathon because it was 96 kilometers plus all the Hyrox stations. And there was many periods, like I was really lucky, like someone from my gym came like every single hour, even through the night, and like even if they watched me, they were there supporting me. But like I remember it, like I think it was like I started at lunchtime on one day and finished at lunchtime on the next day. I think like 3 or 4 in the morning, I just remember like almost being in tears, just so tired, and just being like, I need the sun to come up here because that's the thing that's going to pull me through. So yeah, it was grim. I wouldn't recommend doing it again. I raised like 5 or 6, I think it was like £5,000 for charity. So that was really, really cool. And that was an amazing thing to do. But I see people doing stuff like I did this maybe like over 2 years ago now. And I see people doing it now, like versions of that or different like styles of it. And I just laugh and I'm like, oh, no, it's not going to be good.
You've only done
that, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was tough. It was an incredible experience. And I was so happy to raise money for charity. But it's like a bit like a marathon. Like once I ran that marathon, I was like, I'm done. I don't need to do that again. No part of me needs to do it again. Like someone actually invited me. I was busy with the kids, but someone invited me to come and help them do like part of theirs. And I was like, I don't want to have to do this. But luckily, I was like, let me check the diary. And I was like, I've got the kids, unfortunately. But I was happy. Man.
It's good, though. It's good to, like, do different things. And I guess, like, I remember you doing it. And I remember thinking I didn't know whether it would be possible because I just didn't know whether the fatigue and the build. I did the first. It's impressive that you managed to.
I did the first 12 hours on a treadmill, and then I had to go outside because I was like, oh my God, a kilometer felt like it was taking like a week, and I was like, this is just dull. So
and based on what you've just said, that's saying something. If you had to run outside,
I needed my sign, I think maybe. So I had to go and do the second 12 hours. I had to go and do outside, but again, like in the middle of the night, like that was great. And there was it was like where the gym was. It's like near like a wedding venue. And there was people coming out like 3 o'clock in the morning. They were like, who is this bloke running around topless, round and round again? Looks like a zombie, like, with like just random people just following him, just going, come on, Ciaran. just going around in circles. But they were obviously absolutely hammered. And every time we went back out after doing a station, we were like, oh, I hope they've got in that taxi now.
Oh my God.
Oh, it is impressive. Like, yeah. God, makes one Hyrox seem easy.
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. And have you got any other plans to do anything like that? Any other challenges? Or is it just now going like the future this season is just like a full focus on just doing the doubles?
Yeah, I think for this season, Hyrox is going to be the goal. I did have a conversation with Tony last night where he was trying to claim that he was stronger than me, which I said, yes, of course you are. But I said I could run a quicker marathon than you, and he said, no, you can't. And I said, that sounds like a bet to me. So probably watch this space post Hyrox season. Although I said I'd never do one again, if it means beating him and putting him in his place, because although we are teammates, we are extremely competitive with each other as well. So yeah, post Hyrox season, hopefully post potentially getting into the Elite 15 doubles, I'll be training for a marathon, and I will be beating Tony Ravel.
You'll have a new sign above your treadmill, won't you?
Yeah, beat him. Just beat him.
Beat Tony. Keep running. Oh man, that's awesome. Where can everyone follow you, Ciaran? Because you run your coaching business Fit for Rocks as well. Like, do you want to tell people a bit more about that and where they can find you and follow you if they want to?
Yeah, like obviously I train people for multiple hybrid events. Doesn't necessarily need to be Hyrox just itself. If you're looking for a running coach or whatever, you can find me on Instagram. It's just Ciaran. Ciaran is spelled Ciaran at fitforrocks.com. And I put loads of content out about stations within a Hyrox, mentality kind of stuff, my own personal training, my own personal life. So starting to build a little bit of a following on there now. So yeah, feel free to head over there and give me a follow. And if you ever need, I'm pretty good with replying. Like if anyone ever needs like advice or has any questions, please drop me a message because I will get back to you with some help for sure.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for listening. Please, yeah, we'll link Ciaran's Instagram and everything below, and on our own Instagram post, so they can jump over and follow you, follow your journey for this season. All the best for Melbourne and for the doubles with Tony, and also for the marathon following the Hyrox season.
You don't need luck for that. I don't need luck for that one.
I'm more intrigued in that. I'm more intrigued to see who wins the marathon, I think. So if you want to find out, who's going to win the marathon between Ciaran and Tony, then head over to his Instagram.
I feel like we're going to have to do this now.
Yeah, that's it now.
Said it on the podcast. Yeah. And good luck in Dublin as well. Good luck in Dublin.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
Perfect. No, really enjoyed it too. And if everyone can, like, subscribe, follow the podcast, we really appreciate it because it helps us to get awesome guests on like Ciaran and find out more about people's Hyrox journeys. So I will, see you on the next podcast.
Cheers, guys.